v17 Premier. I'm Marshall Knapp, Senior Consultant here at AspenTech. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules for our webinar today. And if you're having any difficulty with the size of the screen on your end, there's a zoom feature in the top left of the GoToWebinar window. We've got a lot of people on the call today, so we're going to keep all the lines muted. As we go along, if there's any questions that you have, go ahead and post those to the chat area in your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll stop at a couple of points to address any of those questions. Be sure when you're posting those questions that you're posting those to the organizers and the panelists. That way we'll all be able to see those. Following today's webinar, you'll be hearing from us. We'll get an email out to you tomorrow with an overview of the v17 pricing, feature comparison that shows you version by version the features that have been added over the years here, as well as a recording of today's webinar in case you miss anything or you want to go back to it. Additionally, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to plan to reach out to each of you to talk more about an ACT upgrade and if it makes sense for your business. Certainly, though, if you want to reach out to us in the meantime, feel free. All right, now that we've got some of the boring administrative items out of the way, let's jump into it. Here's our agenda for the day. We're going to do a quick overview for some of our attendees who may not be readily familiar with the power of ACT. We're going to give a brief overview of some of the general capabilities there. Then we'll talk specifically about new features and functionality, and we'll get into our live demo of v17. There's some really important news for any of you ACT 2012 users out there, so we want to talk about that. Then we want to talk about ACT Business Care and the benefits of protecting your ACT investment. And we've got some really exciting pricing on v17 exclusive to all of you for attending our webinar. So make sure you stay all the way to the end as well, and we've got some really great giveaways that we're going to do via drawing at the tail end of the presentation here. And last but not least, we're going to stay on and try to answer as many of your questions as we possibly can in the time that we have allotted here. So as a basic overview of ACT, ACT is the #1 best-selling contact and customer manager for individuals, small businesses, and sales teams that helps them get organized and drive sales results. ACT incorporates many aspects of your business relationships with your leads, your prospects, your customers, and incorporates them into a user-friendly but a feature-rich platform. Additionally, ACT integrates with the tools you use every day, like Word, Excel, Outlook, QuickBooks, Google, LinkedIn, and Facebook. ACT is available wherever you need it, whether you have a desktop in the office, a laptop in the field, a tablet, or a smartphone. ACT has the most flexible deployment options in the marketplace. On-premise, hosted, web, mobile, terminal server. So ACT definitely has a good solution for you. Let's take a look at some of the new v17 features here. There's a few key categories in which these fall into. Under Enhanced e-marketing, there are free basic accounts for your entire team included with every v17 purchase. It's not an additional subscription. It's included for free with ACT v17. You can create simple web forms to capture leads and bring them directly into your database. There are team-level accounts now for ACT e-marketing that give you the ability to send as other users, share templates, and also gives you an account dashboard. There's e-marketing features that can now be incorporated into smart tasks. Under productivity enhancements, we have contact timeline, a graphical overview of all of your important interactions with a contact. We have a new one-way Outlook sync option that provides a more stable sync platform between ACT and Outlook. In ACT Mobile, you can now snap a photo from your smartphone or tablet and attach that directly to an ACT contact. And we can now link your important files in iCloud, Dropbox, SharePoint, other cloud storage applications directly with your ACT contacts. Under the streamlined configuration and access options, we have free read-only browse licenses. On ACT Pro, you're limited to 10 total users, but there is no limit on ACT Premium. So think about who else you'd like to have see your ACT contacts and your ACT records, but who doesn't currently have a license allocated for them. You can also hide your inactive users in the different drop-downs and filters. In Act Web, you can build remote databases and perform data imports. For our IT guys and other techies in the audience, there's a brand new silent install utility. So if you've got a lot of installs to do in a short period of time, this streamlines that process. And we have centralized administration of some key end user preferences, also helping with the ease of deployment to a number of different workstations. And under Fresh New Look, there are some new icons you're going to see immediately when we jump into Act, some new layouts, a new Act Marketplace, and an overhaul of the Act Welcome page. I know we have a lot of users on here that are on Act 2012, 2013, maybe even earlier than that as well. And for you guys, there's also a lot of new features and functionality that aren't specific just to v17 that I wanted to cover quickly here too. We have LinkedIn and Facebook updates. We have a history list view, calculated fields based on numeric fields or dates, the ability to reschedule multiple activities at once, an automatic company creation tool, and improvements to the universal search capabilities. For anyone who needs mobile access, there are new tablet-specific views, access to groups, companies, and opportunities, email integration in mobile, list view filters, and improved search performance. For our web users, you can define fields and design layouts now through the web interface. You can manage user accounts. You can add, delete, or change permissions, even reset passwords, all through the web interface. Google Chrome is now fully supported. And the Act Scheduler will send you email notifications about the success or failure of your maintenance, your synchronization, and your backup tasks. And last but not least, we have some additional capability or compatibility with Office 2013, Windows 8, and Server 2012. With that, let's get into the Act v17 live demo. Hold on just a moment. I'll exit out of the PowerPoint here. And let's get Act going for us. Sorry, I've just got to move that over onto the other screen here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and sign into our Act 2015 demo database here. And just while we're waiting for this to load here, keep in mind this is beta software. This is a beta build from about a month ago. So Act has been working tirelessly to provide updates and fixes to this leading up to the launch on October 23rd. And so we're still providing beta feedback. We may run into a glitch or two. If we do, just keep in mind that this is beta software and that these bugs are being worked out prior to launch. So, all right, here we are in Act version 17. Let's start by just simply navigating over to one of our contacts here, our friend Ilsa. Go to her record here. Let me minimize this alarms window here so I can get that out of our way. The first thing I want to show you in the new Act version here is the timeline feature. The timeline feature, as I mentioned earlier, is sort of a graphical overview of your interactions and the important touch points with this contact. It's going to show things like your notes, your histories, your activities, and your opportunities on this timeline. There's the ability to go back and forward in here. It'll go a week at a time back or a week at a time forward. You'll see 2 weeks in the past at any time and 2 weeks into the future at any time here. You've got some filter options on what exactly it is that you want to show, opportunities, notes, histories, or activities. If it's really cluttered and you want to get rid of some of the text, you could show the icons only. You can also reset any of your filters at any time. If you hover over any of these items, you'll be able to see specifically what those items are about. Or if you go and click on one of them, you can actually bring that item up, in this case a future activity that then we can reschedule. We're being told that in the production version, the production release, there's going to be a slider bar down here, which is going to make it easier to move from week to week rather than moving the pointers here. And that slider bar will also allow you to zoom in or zoom out. So if you've got a client with a lot of interactions and you really need to get a smaller window here rather than this 4-week window that we're seeing there, you'll be able to zoom in and zoom out on that. On the Documents tab of Ilsa's record, we've got the ability now to link to web resources as well as files and folders on our network, or folders on our network. We've always had files. So in the past, you've always had files and shortcuts. Now we have this new link functionality. You can see here that I've linked from the O drive on our network a particular customer folder. And when I double-click on that, it takes me directly into that folder. You've never had the ability to simply attach folders within the Documents tab before. But the even better functionality here that I think is the ability to attach things from web resources like Dropbox or iCloud or SharePoint. So here's a file that I attached from Dropbox. When I double-click on that, it opens a new browser window, takes me directly to that file within Dropbox. So as more and more people are storing things on the cloud, you can attach those files directly to your ACT contacts. There's also some new Outlook sync options, as I mentioned earlier, with the contacts and the calendar. The two-way synchronization is great, but it is a little bit risky. Outlook handles data very differently than the way ACT handles data. So to provide a more stable sync platform, ACT is now giving us one-way capabilities to sync from ACT to Outlook. You still have the two-way, but if you choose to and you want to take the safer approach, we can do simply a one-way push where ACT is where you enter all your data, and then it pushes that information over to Outlook. You'll see that here on the calendar as well as in the contacts. Some other new features, particularly for our 2012 and 2013 users, is the ability to reschedule multiple activities. So if I go into something like the task list here, in the past you've always had to just open up an activity one at a time, change the date to reschedule it. Now you have the ability to take multiple activities. Let's take some of these from down here too. Right-click and then reschedule all of those at the same time. So that makes that substantially easier. We also have a new history list view, which is essentially the rear view mirror of your ACT database. You can filter this by dates. You can filter this by types. You can really drill down into the specific types too. For example, under activity histories, maybe I don't want to see any to-dos or vacations or personal activities. I really just want to see the meetings, the calls, the appointments, those really key items within the activities. Maybe I want to uncheck some of these other major components here. And I tap out of that, and it's now filtered that specifically based on those items. You can filter by keyword. Maybe I want to search for some of the networking items that my people are doing in here. So I search for networking, hit go. Now it finds only histories that have something in the regarding about networking. Clear that out of there. You can select different users to filter on. You can select by one or many ACT users at a time. Betty's just a browse user. She probably wouldn't have any histories, so I'm going to exclude her from my filters here. And then you can do a really quick export to Excel. There's 500 histories there. Sounds like a lot. We can dump this data right out to Excel very quickly and easily, giving us the ability to report on this, maybe build some charts, graphs, things like that directly in Excel, or distribute it to other people who are not ACT users. We also have in the new software the ability to do calculated fields. This is brand new in version 16. If I go to the Personal Info tab, I've created an age field on the contacts that's calculated based on the birth date. You can do calculations based on dates as well as calculations based on any numeric field, as you would suspect you could. Let's say we thought we got the year wrong here. I'm just going to change that to 62. As soon as I save this record or I leave the record, that immediately updates that field in real time. This even works when you're importing data and things like that, synchronizing data from remote databases, whatever it might be. All of these calculations are always done in real time. Another example of a calculation that we've done over on the opportunities here is commission or potential commission. If I open an opportunity here, we're calculating the potential commission based on the total value of the sale. Another really handy new feature for us is the ability to automatically create company records. For those of you familiar with ACT and using company records, you know that any of the contacts that are blue and underlined here are basically linked to companies. These are the company level records, and if you were to click on that, it's going to take you over to the company's view in ACT, where you'll see all the linked contacts. You'll see a roll-up of the activities, the opportunities, the history from all of the linked contacts. What's great about the new software is we have the ability to set a threshold for a certain number of contacts at a particular company. And if we meet or exceed that, then ACT will automatically build a company record for us. Currently, I've got it set to 2. So anybody where you see 2 or more contacts at the same company is going to have a company record automatically in here. So for example, Continental Energy, we don't have 2 contacts there right now. So why don't I double click on Herman's record, create a new contact. Oops, let me actually go back there. So from Herman, I actually want to duplicate his contact record here. Duplicate the data from the primary fields, and you can immediately see that it's now hyperlinked to the Continental Energy company name, because as soon as it created a new contact record for Continental, it immediately saw that there were 2 there and built the corresponding company record for it. Go back to our list view. There you can see that now both of those are linked to the appropriate company. We also have some new global preferences, and these are new to version 17. If we go into Tools and Preferences, on the Communication tab here, you can set the default applications for the word processor and slightly lesser used fax software directly from here for all of your users. Saves you the time of going machine to machine, setting whether it's ACT word processor or Microsoft Word, things like that. We also have on the Startup tab the ability to set a startup view for all of your users and update that across the board. So again, it saves you the time of logging in as each user and setting those preferences, and then these are stored within the database. So even when that user gets a new computer, it's going to automatically know that this is their startup view, this is what they use as a word processor. And as we move forward with new ACT versions and more updates to the current ACT version, expect more and more preferences to be housed in the database rather than on individual end-user machines. A couple of other things from an administrative standpoint here. If I go into Tools and I go into Manage Users, there's a couple of neat things for you here. You can hide inactive users from the Schedule With and the Record Manager drop-down lists. So I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but here's where you would actually do that. And then this is going to prevent those users from showing up in things like the task list filter when I go to select users. If you don't want to be able to filter for inactive users, or if you've had a lot of turnover over the years and you just want to sort of hide those users without deleting them, that's a great new feature that allows you to do that. The other thing in the Manage Users is that the Browse users no longer take up licenses. So since Browse users no longer take up licenses, you can have an unlimited number of Browse users in your premium databases. Whereas in the Pro version, where you're limited to 10 total users, you still have that limitation. So if you have 5 licenses of Pro, you could have 5 Browse users. But if you have 5 licenses of Premium, there's nothing stopping you from having 50 or 100 users that are Browse users. So you can give access to ACT to many more people now than you ever were able to before, at really no additional cost to you. One of the great things would be in Web or in Premium, you could use the web or the mobile product. You don't have to install any software for them. Then you can have your Browse users log in there. Speaking of web and mobile, let's actually take a look at that. I'm going to actually pull up ACT Mobile here. There's a lot of people that are giving us feedback as you signed up for the webinar about how you can access ACT from your tablets or from your smartphones. And mobile is one of the great ways of doing that. Mobile is included completely free with the ACT Premium software. So here's ACT Mobile. We're already logged into the demo database in ACT Mobile. There's some quick actions at the top here. I can create a new contact easily, a new opportunity. I can schedule an activity. We have contacts, we have opportunities, calendar, task list, all these different areas here. Groups, companies. So let me just do a quick search within the contacts. I'm going to tap on contacts. I could scroll through all these. Just imagine this were a smartphone. I kind of sized it like one. You'd be, flicking with your finger here to move up and down in the list, or you tap up here and your keyboard would come up. I'm going to search for that particular contact that we were looking at before, Lund. So I do that. It comes back, immediately finds Ilsa for me. I tap on her, and I've got the ability to call her phone, call her mobile if we had one in there, write her an email that would just use the native email on my mobile device, schedule an activity, record a history. Brand new to Act v17, the ability to attach a photo. That's kind of cool. If you were to do the attach photo from an actual mobile device, this would take you directly into your camera or your photo library. On here, it just takes me into a browse area on the PC. I can select a particular file there to upload. We can save that in there. If I go back and I look at Ilsa's record over here in ACT, on her History tab, here's a photo history with that photo attached right here. So there's Ilsa's Friendship Bar and Grill. Okay. I'm jumping back over to mobile here. A few other things that we can do in here. Brand new to version 16 was the ability to access the groups in the companies. In prior versions, 2013 and 2012, you really only had the ability to do the contacts, the opportunities, and the calendar. The calendar is especially helpful to have when you're on the go as well as the contact information. So here you can see I've got our Act v17 preview scheduled right here. I can tap on that. I can clear the activity as completed, generate my history. If I wanted to, I could go in and edit the activity, maybe reschedule it or add some additional details to it down here at the bottom. You can very quickly and easily schedule new activities simply by tapping on a particular time slot within here. Oh, doesn't seem like that's working through the system. The other option is up here going into there, but that's another way of scheduling the same sort of activity. So you select your activity type. Let's say we're going to make sure we don't forget about that follow-up phone call we just told our client we'd make to them tomorrow. So we'll say follow-up on proposal. Maybe make that a high priority item, timeless, and then have it ring an alarm maybe 15 minutes beforehand for us. Make the duration 15 minutes, and then we can specify who this is actually scheduled with. So let's go back to our same contact, Ilsa Lund. Let's schedule it with her. Okay, good. Go ahead and save that. Save the activity, and now we've got that activity scheduled with Ilsa for tomorrow. And when you're working in mobile, all of this is live. I mean, as you saw, I added that photo, and it was immediately available within the database that I'm accessing. That activity that I just scheduled, follow-up on proposal, is right here. So when you're working on ACT Mobile and you're collaborating with people that are in your office, they're seeing the things that you're putting in there immediately, and you're accessing that from either your tablet or your smartphone. Let's take a look at ACT Web. Pull up the web product here. So here's ACT Web, the latest and greatest v17 ACT Web. Let me pull this up here so we get a better view of that. And there's a couple of new things in here that I wanted to point out, some specific to v17 and some other ones specific to v16. Specific to v17, we have the ability now to create remote databases through the web. So tools, remote database synchronization, and that popped up on my other screen. Let me bring that over. There you go. So here's the remote database synchronization system. So let's give the remote database a name. So let's call this Marshall Remote. Go next. Select my sync set. Next. Next. And now it's creating that remote database. You might ask, why would I need to create remote databases through the web product? Well, let's say you're the ACT administrator and you're working from home and you don't have ACT readily available to you. You could sign into your web-based version of ACT and do that. Or let's say you're even in your office and you're working within ACT and you want to create a remote database for a user. Typically, you have to sign onto the server to do that. So maybe you don't want to jump over to the server, so you just open the web-based product and do it there. Or maybe you're already doing something in ACT on the server. Well, you can open web simultaneously with anything else that you have open and then build it over there so you don't have to leave what you're doing inside the installed ACT product. You can also then, even if you're only maybe a web user, let's say you're an administrator, you don't have ACT installed on your computer, you could open multiple windows of ACT Web at the same time. All I have to do is just go down here, open a new window, sign into the same website, and I could be doing, again, multiple things within ACT at the same time then. So here our database was completed successfully. We can hit next, and then we can begin the download of that. I'm just going to go ahead and close out of that. No need to download and actually go through the process of restoring that, but that's a handy new feature that we have in v17. Another nice new feature that we have is the ability to import through the web product. Bring that over here. So here's the import wizard. If I go next, I can browse. Let's see, let me go back up here. There's an import file right there, so I'm just going to import this CSV file here. Go next. Do a custom import. That's always what we want to do. No, we don't need to import the first record because that's our header rows there. And here's our fields from the spreadsheet. Here's our fields that are in the ACT database. If we need to change any of the mappings, we can do that. If any of you are familiar with the traditional import wizard that's built into the full product, this looks virtually identical. Choose what we want to have happen if source records match destination records or if they do not match destination records. We go next, import, and it successfully merged the two records that were in that import. Now you'd probably be importing more than two, but just for our purposes today, that's what we put in there. A few new features in web that were new to version 16. The ability to define fields within the web product. So again, this goes back to those administrative functions that you may want to do through the web product. You can now define fields in here. That's creating new fields, deleting fields, modifying the field properties. You can also then design layouts. That's the next logical thing after you add a field is you want to go in and design the layout. So here's the design layouts within the web product. I mentioned this earlier, and obviously you can see that we're using this in Firefox right now, but Google Chrome is also a fully supported browser now for ActWeb. Let's circle back to the core ACT product now. I want to talk a little bit about e-marketing. E-marketing has really been overhauled in ACT version 17. The traditional Swift page e-marketing that many of you are accustomed to using is still there. You can still use that. It's easily enabled within the new version 17 software. But the new ACT e-marketing platform is really the future of e-marketing in ACT. And they're working hard to build in any missing features, any gaps basically between ACT e-marketing and what is the new platform and what may have been in the old Swift page e-marketing. It's not a complete replacement yet. I want you to know that. So you're not going to necessarily move right away from Swift page e-marketing to ACT e-marketing, depending on what features you might be using in Swift page. But the long-term future is the ACT e-marketing, and eventually they will eliminate all those gaps. For anybody new to e-marketing, ACT e-marketing is probably the way to go. There's a lot of really cool functionality here. It's really heavily integrated into the ACT product now. So I mentioned earlier that every user of ACT v17 gets a free basic account. What that means is you can send an unlimited number of emails to up to 500 contacts per month per user. So for every one of your users on ACT v17, you can send an unlimited number of emails to 500 unique contacts every single month, all completely for free. There's also new team-level accounts. With the team-level accounts, you can share templates amongst your users. You can also send on behalf of other users. So if I go in here and take a look at my sender profiles, in our particular account, we've got myself and Greg in here. So I can send an email message as Greg. Greg can send an email message as me. We can collaborate. We can share templates. And you can do that all through the team account. When I actually go to send an email campaign, I mentioned that ability to send as. I can select from here who I want to send this email on behalf of. And that's who it's going to go out as. We'll come back into sending emails in just a little bit here. Let me show you a quick overview of the templates. So customizing an email. So from the ACT eMarketing view, I click Customize an Email. It's going to take me into the web portal for ACT eMarketing where I can manage all my templates. You get hundreds of stock templates included automatically with ACT eMarketing. There's no cost for these. And so you've got a variety of different templates across a variety of different categories here. If you scroll down, you'll see there's even more. Some of these templates are even mobile optimized, so it's a template that'll look great if you're looking at it through Microsoft Outlook or Gmail or something like that, but it's also going to basically self-adjust if it's being viewed on a tablet or on a smartphone. And all of those have this little icon here. Let me jump into one of my templates here that we can edit. And let's just pull up this newsletter template. So here's your graphical editor for the newsletter template. You just simply click on an area and then edit, and you can very easily change the text of that. You don't have to be some sort of webmaster or HTML guru here. You can create really great email templates without knowing anything about HTML or websites or anything like that. Go in here, alter the logo, browse to another image, put that in. And when you're all said and done, you can save this, and you can also preview it as well. So previewing will show you what it'll actually look like within an email client. Or click View Email in Browser. Oh, links are disabled in there. Hang on. Oh, that crashed on me. Sorry about that. Let's get back to it. There we go. So back in here, View Email in Browser, and we can then view those things in the browser. I think there's a little glitch going on in there right now, but we should be able to click on that and see what it would look like in a browser as well. Let's take a look at what it would take to send an email blast. I think you're going to find that that's going to be equally as easy as editing the templates here. So if I'm in my ACT database, I want to create a lookup of contacts, or maybe I already have a built-in group, and that's who I want to send to. Let's actually do that. I already have a group that I can send to, so I don't even need to go create a lookup. I've already got a group that I've built here. Let me go to eMarketing. I'm going to send an email campaign. You can also simply click the button right there within the eMarketing view. I'm going to choose a particular group, choose my key contacts. I'm going to, you know what, send this one from Greg rather than myself. Let's do this as the October newsletter. I'm going to do part 2 because I've already sent an October newsletter, as you can see down here in my call list, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. And then choose my template that I want to use. So there's my newsletter, October 2014. Let's back over there. There we go. And you can send it now, or you can choose when you want to send it. So I could schedule this to go out later today, tomorrow, or a future date. Of course, we want to indicate that we've read and agreed to the anti-spam policy. Nobody wants to be sending out spam or be labeled as a spammer, so SwiftPage has that in place here on all the ACT eMarketing products. And when we hit OK, it's going to go ahead and send that email campaign. Within a few minutes, all of the contacts in my group will have received that email. When you send the email, there's a couple of things that happen. You're going to get a confirmation back. Let me actually pull something else up here. Hang on just a second. I'll show you what the confirmation looks like. Okay, here's the confirmation email here. Pull that over. So you'll get an email from ACT eMarketing indicating that your email blast was sent. So if you scheduled it for the future, this would kind of serve as a reminder that, yep, that email just went out for you. It'll put the subject, tell you what template was used, when it was sent, and the number of contacts. And it tells you can track the ongoing success of this by using some of the ACT eMarketing reports. Let me show you what the actual message would look like, or one of the messages would look like that I sent out earlier this morning to some of our contacts. So here's a sample message notice for our key contacts. This is what it looks like within, say, Outlook. You can click View Email in Browser. That'll also show you the email in a browser window. What's kind of really neat about the browser is then you can like it on Facebook, you can tweet it, you can share it in Google+, share it in LinkedIn, all those different things too. And these are just built right into this. There's nothing special you need to do with your email templates to enable this functionality for your recipients. So that's going to help spread your message. That same functionality also exists at the bottom of this through the share link right here. Let's take a look at what happens after we send the blast. So our recipients have received our email. We now have these things called call lists that are built directly into ACT. Let me refresh my call list here. Okay, so if I go and I click on one of these call lists, it's accessing my account. Over here on the right, you can see who's opened this email, how many times they've opened it, how many times I've sent it to them, what they've clicked on, things like that. So with these contacts, they all get a score then for a call list. The higher the score, the more interested they are in your email. That's the person you should be following up with a phone call, or maybe sending an additional email to, because they're really interested in what you had to say. If I double click on them, it takes me directly to their active contact. Now I'm posed to make that phone call. Go back to the marketplace here. I'm sorry, not the marketplace, the e-marketing here. I'm going to click back on that call list. You'll also see these little flames here. That tells you it's sort of a hot lead. The more flames, the warmer the lead, the more you want to actually get in front of that person and start talking to them. Okay. Under the Manage My Account, there's reports. You can also click Campaign Reports over here to get to those. Either way will take you into the online account manager for Active Marketing and will allow you to pull reports. So I can see different emails that I've sent here. This one's queued up, hasn't gone out quite yet, should happen any minute now. Looking at these ones here, I can say, okay, both of these had a 37% open rate. Let me click on this one and see what I've got. Let's look at some more details here. Here, I submitted 8 emails. It was successfully able to send 8. There were 4 total opens, 3 unique clicks, 2 total clicks, and then 1 unique opens, total clicks, unique clicks. And then you can take this report and you can export this. So I go here, say export report to. I type in the email address of whoever needs to receive this, export it, and then I'm sending that report to that particular person. So you can share that with maybe your marketing person who may or may not be an ACT user, the owner of the company, something like that. They want to see how the e-marketing is going. You can easily share these reports with those people. The other great thing about the e-marketing is that you can build these emails into smart tasks or use call list scores in your smart tasks. Let's take a look at that. I'm going to go into Schedule. I'm going to go into Manage Smart Tasks. These have been around for a couple of versions now, but there's some significant new functionality here that I want to show you. I'm going to create a brand new smart task here. So let's call this Services Inquiry Send Follow-Up Email. Okay. So we're going to base this off of contact records. What's going to trigger this are when certain conditions are met. The conditions are essentially an advanced query within the database. So I'm going to put a particular field in here, maybe referred by, equal to, I'm going to choose services inquiry. Maybe I have a form on my website that allows users to fill out a service inquiry, then it brings them in my database, and I then mark the referred by as a services inquiry. In fact, the new ACT web capture lead forms would be a great way to do that. We'll show you that in just a little bit. So I'm going to add that services inquiry here. I'm going to say OK. I'm only going to run this for a single record once because the contact's always going to meet those conditions. I'm not going to go back and change that referred by value to something different later on necessarily. So I want to make sure this only runs for a particular contact once. Okay, the next step here would be to maybe set the access to this. We bring in a new contact. We want to make sure the appropriate people in our CRM system have access to that contact. So I go into the teams here. I want to make sure that the customer service has access to anybody who's referred by was service inquiry. So that's one of the brand new features within Smart Tasks, is the ability to limit access or set access to contacts based on them meeting certain conditions or criteria in the system. So we change record access to customer service, and then let's send an email campaign or send a follow-up email. I'm going to sign into our ACT marketing account here. Okay, and we're going to call this Send Service Inquiry Follow-Up This is an Act e-marketing step. It'll come from me, although I could send it from somebody else, or I could manage those users right here. We'll put in a subject of the email, service inquiry follow-up. And there's our template right there, the service inquiry thank you. Yes, we've read and agreed to the spam policy. Say OK. And then, so a new contact comes in. They're referred by a services inquiry. It automatically sets the record access to customer service and sends them a follow-up email thanking them for their inquiry, letting them know that we'll be in touch. Pretty handy tool right there. I'm going to create another new smart task here. This smart task will be more pertaining to a particular email campaign. So I sent out a notice, an important notice to some of our key contacts already this morning. If somebody seems really interested in it, I can always go to the call list and I can pull them up based on the call list scores and things like that, and then try to follow up with them individually and one-on-one to really further gauge their interest. But I could also automate some tasks relating to that as well. I could have it send them another follow-up email. But I could also have it schedule a follow-up activity for one of my users so that we don't let those things slip through the cracks. So if I go into Smart Task name here, let's do important notice follow-up. It's going to be based on contacts as well. When we go into the trigger here, we're going to run it when certain e-marketing conditions are met. Again, I've got to sign into my e-marketing account here. Okay. I want to run this daily, every day. I'm going to run it at 8 a.m. Should be good there. Yep. And then the call list name is the important update. And I want it to flag anybody who's got a score greater than, let's say, 100. I've determined that 100 is the threshold where I want my people to be following up with those individuals. So I say OK. Then I add a step, schedule act activity, and then we want to schedule a call. We'll just make it timeless. We don't have to actually schedule it for a particular time with that contact regarding follow-up on important notice. Maybe we'll have a ring an alarm so the user doesn't forget about it. Make it a medium priority. And then we can schedule it for the person who's creating the smart task or whose the smart task is running under, or we can schedule it for a particular user within our system. So I'm going to say, Allison's going to handle these phone calls. So say OK. And now we've got this smart task created as well so that these follow-up calls are automatically scheduled based on those people who are interested in our particular email blast that just went out. The one thing that else that I want to cover related to v17 is the web lead capture. So let me jump over to groups here. Web lead capture all comes in from groups. So actually I've created a services inquiry group right here. You can actually see there's a couple of contacts that have been brought in here too already. Basically when you go into the lead capture right here, here are your web forms. So here's a form that I've already created, services inquiry. It allows them to put in their first name, last name, email, phone number, company, then they click please contact me. Well, let's create another new group with another web form. So I'm going to do new again. And for this one, let's do newsletter sign up. I'm going to create a web form for this. And the title actually defaults to newsletter sign up. So I'm going to change the title slightly though. Sign me up. The text will be something like, yes, I'd like to receive your newsletter. This one, we're just going to do the email address because this is more of a basic form. If we did the extended form, we'd have company, first name, last name, all of that. And then button, let's make it please. So then they click that, and then they're signed up. What's cool is when you hit OK here, it's then going to give you the URL. You can just simply send this URL to people if you want to, or using the HTML code, you can embed this on your website. So amongst all your other forms that you might already have on your website, you can embed this specific form. let me take our URL right here. We're not going to get into how to embed this form on a demo like this, but let me bring up a sign-up form here. Let me go to this particular URL that we just created. So here's that web form that I just created. It's live immediately. There's no waiting here. So let me get back over that, sorry. And let me put in an email address here. So let's do I'm trying to think of an email that I have that I haven't used already. Click that. All right, so now it's sent that email out. Now all I've got to do then is, as the recipient of that, I go to my inbox, I click, yep, I did indeed sign up, and then the person who created that web form in their ACT database can go into this group, click Get Leads, and it will automatically download those new contacts into here. It's not downloading that one because I haven't clicked the link to confirm it yet. But if we go back to the other group for the services inquiry, you can see where it did already download a couple as a result of me clicking on the verification link and then going into here and getting the leads. It's a pretty handy new tool, and as I mentioned, that can also be used in conjunction with the Smart Tasks, because when you do this, it puts the form name into the referred by field, and then you can use that to trigger a Smart Task to happen. So hopefully everybody's excited about as excited about these new features as we are, and there are a lot of time savers and productivity boosters here. I'd also like to spend just a few minutes showcasing 3 products that we're actually going to be giving away a free license of each later on in the webinar here. That'll be at the tail end of the webinar. One of those products is Topline Dash. Topline Dash is a reporting tool that we often recommend to extend the capabilities of ACT. Trial mode. So Topline Dash, let me actually pull something up here. Folders. ACT v17 demo. Okay, so I'm in my Marshall's dashboard here, and what I've basically created here is a KPI dashboard of new contacts by lead source. KPIs are one of the areas in which ACT falls short. ACT's dashboards can give you charts and graphs and things like that, but they really come up short when it comes to doing a KPI like this, where you just want to see some raw numbers and data sets like this. And Topline Dash is really great at building these. Topline Dash also gives us some advanced filtering options that we can't get through ACT. So for example, if I go into my query here, I can easily include or exclude certain types of referral sources, maybe certain ID statuses that are in this list over here. I can very easily do that within Topline Dash. It's not so easy within ACT by itself. You can also report on inside of Dash any ACT entity. So whether it's histories, notes, activities, opportunities, contacts, groups, companies, or even custom sub-entities that you've created in your database, Topline Dash creates a reporting platform for those. And let me show you also how easy it is to create a couple of reports in here. I'm actually going to add a couple of panels to this dashboard. Let me go and add. Here's my panel wizard. Let's create a history query. So I'm going to run a history query of histories linked to contacts, where from the history table, the history end date is within the last 30 days. Okay, pretty simple and easy to put that in there. Say OK. I want to create a graph. So I'm actually going to choose the history type as my category field, history record manager as my group field. A bar graph sounds like a great idea, so next, OK. And there's my history graph right there showing, OK, here are Allison's histories. You can click on those. That brings up this next window here. You can actually see the list of those particular histories, those particular meetings that she's had. It's really easy to drill down in these as well. Let me create another one quickly here. I'm going to add a new panel to the side of that. So that sort of shrinks that one, which that's OK. We can still see that information, still decipher and interpret that report. So let me go next here. This time we'll do an activity dashboard. We'll do an activity query. And we're going to do activities which are linked to contacts. We're going to search the activity table for a start date time that's within the next 30 days. So the history, we're looking in the past 30 days. With this, we'll look at the next 30 days. And then we say OK. We'll do a graph again. Maybe I'll do a pie chart this time, though. Break it down by user. Say next, and OK. And then we've got our breakdown of the next 30 days worth of activities by user. Say I wanted to change that. I just click on my little panel right there, my little display screen, and say, you know what, I don't want to see it by user. I want to see it by activity type. I want to know how many calls, how many meetings, things like that. That's really easy to do, too. So as you can see, I mean, it just takes minutes to create these items. Very easy to create. It's a more powerful tool than what you get out of the box, and it's only $149. It's such a huge time saver. Another tool that I want to show you is Duplicate Remover. We're also giving away a license of this. Duplicate Remover is from Egan Consulting. It's an excellent tool to help eliminate the inevitable duplicates that you're going to see in your ACT database over time. So let me walk you through the Dupe Remover process here. So this is the Duplicate Remover wizard. It actually functions outside of ACT. I could have ACT closed and we could still do this. So we go next here. I'm going to put in the details to log into my database. Let's go next again. It'll prompt you to make a backup. We always want to make a backup before we do any cleaning of duplicates or anything like that. We go next again. Normally we would create that backup. Not going to take the time for it today on the demo, though. You can search between contacts or companies, and you can dedupe either of those entities. ACT by itself only gives you the ability to dedupe contacts. We're going to search the entire database or a particular group. You don't have that capability with ACT by itself. Let me go back to all there. And then here's where it starts to get really cool. You can choose up to 6 different fields to use as your duplicate criteria. I'm going to choose a field. We'll leave company in there. I'm going to do first name as a separate field. I don't want to do contact as a whole. I'm going to do last name as a separate field. Oops, click the wrong one there. Let me go back up, last name. And then we can also exclude blanks. So if we want to exclude anybody who doesn't have these fields filled in, we can. We can also apply fuzzy matching. And fuzzy matching helps us when there's not an exact match. Maybe I spelled it McDonald, you spelled it MacDonald, M-A-C, and I just put M-C. This is going to help us identify those as potential duplicates. Or maybe you have the company as ABC Corp, and I put in ABC Corporation. When you use the duplicate scanning directly in ACT, it's only doing exact matches. Here, we have the fuzzy matchability, which is really helpful. So let me go next, and it's going to ask us a few questions about how we want to merge these records. Do we want to keep data from the most recently modified record, the least recently modified record, the earliest created, the latest created? What's our preference here? And depending on your situation, you choose whatever you want for this particular run-through. What's also really great about this product, and something that ACT does not do with its duplicate merging, is it records any data that might be lost as a note on the retained record. So let's say you've got 2 contacts, they're a match, but you've got 2 different phone numbers on there. Well, with ACT, you've got to pick one or the other to essentially win out. With Dupe Remover, it'll keep one of them based on whatever criteria you selected up here, and then it's going to take whatever would have been lost, and it's going to put it into it as a note on that record that you've decided to keep. So that's really helpful. Both ACT and this product will merge notes, histories, documents, all the sub-items that fall underneath the contact. Now what it's done is it's actually gone through our 213 contacts in the database. It excluded 5 of them because they didn't have a company name or a first name or a last name. So there's 203 unique contacts, 5 of which have duplicates. We go next, then we can review which ones have duplicates. So these ones are exact matches of me there. This one here, though, oh, somebody put him in his mark with a C, somebody else put him in his mark with a K. Okay, but yep, that's a duplicate record, same company and everything. Oh, this is Finch Legal, this is Finch Legal Aid. Oh, this is Hershey Chocolate Co., Hershey Chocolate Company. Oh, and there's also a misspelling there. Somebody put the H and the S, flip-flopped those. So there's a variety of different things that it's going to catch that in here and variations of the data that it's going to still say, you know what, I think these are duplicates. If you decide something isn't a duplicate, you can always exclude it. Very easy to do that. All right. And then, once we've got these in here, just the way we want them, we can go ahead, proceed, and it'll merge our duplicates together. Perfect. So it's a trial. It only merged 2 duplicates, but we're going to give away one fully licensed copy of this at the end of the webinar here. This also retails for $149, so the amount of time this would save you as opposed to doing this directly through the ACT system when you got a lot of duplicates, it's huge. The last tool I want to showcase here is called Mapper. Mapper is from Design R1 software, and what Mapper does is it geocodes your ACT records with latitudes and longitudes. So let me just do a quick search here. Look up latitude. It only let me do 20 of them because I've only got a trial of it installed on here, or actually I've got 16 on here. But basically all of these now have a latitude and a longitude within them. When you geocode the records, it also allows you to do things like update the zip code. So it'll look at the address, it'll look at the city and the state, and you could have it fill in the zip code to verify that you have that correct. You could have a county field in your database, and you could have it update the county as it's geocoding the records. And there's a number of other data points that it can verify for you or input as it's geocoding these records. Once you've geocoded the records, you can do things like a geo lookup, and a geo lookup allows you to find records within X number of miles of another record. So within 1 mile, within 10 miles, 20 miles. Great if you're going to go visit a particular customer and you want to see who else is in the area. Let me actually pull up a small group of these here that I've created for under my Mapper contacts. Create a lookup there. So my user account here has an address in Seattle, Washington. Let's say I'm the West Coast sales rep of Tech 1, and I've got some contacts in California, Arizona, and Texas, and I want to go visit them. I'm going to take a big road trip. So I want to end in Texas, so I'm going to highlight that particular contact there. Then I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to Map Lookup. The starting address is my address. It detects that. It knows that I'm the logged in user. I probably want to start from my own address, although you could change that just by clicking Choose and pick anybody else you want. And then the end address, let's go ahead and change that to Jordan Benedict here. Hang on just a second. There we go. So we've got that now selected as our end address. And we're going to route through all of these contacts that are in the lookup, ultimately ending up in Texas. So let me hit OK. And it creates a Google map that plots all my points on here and gives me all the turn-by-turn directions, even if I want them. Now, you're probably going to use your GPS, but it'd be certainly great to know how long you can anticipate it taking you to get from point to point, right? And it does this in the most logical way possible. It's not going to take you to Phoenix to go back to LA and then down to Texas. So this is a really handy tool as well. And we find more and more clients of ours are interested in mapping tools like this. Mapper retails for $200. AspenTech can actually get you additional discounts above and beyond than what you would get if you bought it direct through Design R1. So let us know if this is anything that you're interested in. And again, we'll be giving away one of these at the tail end of the webinar here too. So that concludes the live demo portion of our presentation. And so we're going to get into a little bit of Q&A now and address some of the questions that have been brought up so far. So give me just a few minutes to run through these. Someone asked the question, I currently have ACT version 2009, version 11. Will the new ACT v17 work and keep my data? Yes, absolutely. Whenever we upgrade the databases from one version to another, all of your data and all of your customizations are transferred to the new software. In regards to my 2009 version, I'm missing all the tabs below the contact info. Will the new version restore these tabs and will they function correctly? The new version will not restore those tabs. Those tabs are actually still on your current version of the software. We're finding with new high-resolution monitors and displays that Windows is defaulting one of their settings to abnormally or disproportionately enlarge the font sizes on the system. So it makes them easier to read, but it also causes problems with some applications, ACT being one of them. The recommendation would be that you set the font sizes back to normal and then decrease the resolution to proportionately make everything larger on the screen. That's something, if you want to reach out to us directly, I can get you some specific steps on how to resolve that. But unfortunately, there's nothing that will change with the new version of the software there. Another question, can you import from Excel to history? You can import from Excel to history, but not out of the box with ACT. There is a third-party tool that you can use to enable that functionality. You can import from Excel to companies and contacts. You can even add notes under your contact records, but you cannot, unfortunately, import to history without the use of a third-party tool. Is an email from a mobile device synced with ACT and/or Outlook? It depends on how you have your email set up on the mobile device and how you're using the ACT mobile system on there. There are two different options in ACT Mobile for how to configure your email. One would be to just simply use the native email system that's already on there. If you use the native system that's already on there, when you go to compose an email through ACT Mobile, it's just going to open your normal email system. And if those emails end up in your sent items in Outlook, if you say you're on Exchange or Google Apps or something like that, then yeah, they're absolutely going to be there in Outlook too. However, if those don't already synchronize to Outlook, then ACT isn't really going to change that for you. Another alternative, though, is that when you can actually set up an SMTP server within, it's an outbound mail server, within ACT Mobile, and that would send directly within the ACT Mobile client, immediately put it into history, but would not necessarily put it into your sent items in Outlook or anything like that. How is ACT for web and mobile set up on a Windows server so everyone can access online? All Windows Server operating systems, as well as actually Windows Professional desktop operating systems, basically just not the Home or the Media Center or the tablet OSs, all the professional and server operating systems have a component called Internet Information Services, or IIS. IIS is Windows Web Hosting Platform. And so Windows by itself can host a website. What ACT does is it piggybacks off of that technology and hosts the ACT Web or the ACT Mobile either on your server or on one of hosting partner servers like AspenTech's to provide that access to your users online. Sometimes there's a little bit of configuration that needs to be done on your network firewall to allow that traffic through from the outside, but those are relatively easy changes for us to make or for us to work with your IT people to make. Another question here is, can you see other users' calendars yet? Yes, in fact, you've always been able to see other users' calendars unless they're scheduling their items as private. So let me actually just jump back to ACT real quick here, and I'll show that. That's an easy one to show here. If I go into the calendar, there's a select users functionality. And all I've got to do is go in and select another user here, and then I can see what they have scheduled. If you call from your cell, will the mobile app automatically record it in your calls in ACT? It won't automatically record it, but you can go in and easily create a history right from that contact. So you call their mobile from ACT Mobile, right back on that same page, about 2 spots down from call mobile is record history, and then you can put in the details of whatever that call was regarding. Is mobile available to those with the hosted database? Yes, absolutely. The person actually specifically asking this question hosts their database with us, and yes, just shoot me an email and I'll make sure you have that URL. If someone opts out from a received email, will they automatically be blocked from any future emails we send? They'll automatically be blocked if they opt out of the ACT e-marketing from any future ACT e-marketing messages that you send. So yes, in that way, it's all CAN spam compliant. It won't, though, prevent you from doing like an Outlook email from ACT to that individual in the future. So you do have to be a little bit careful if you're, sending some small groups of emails, 20, 30 through Outlook. If it's any type of marketing-related items, you do have to be careful there. We always recommend that our clients put a field in their database for opt-in, opt-out, and that way you can be sure to exclude those, even if you were to send an email in another fashion, not through ACT e-marketing. Is there a way to assign a follow-up to another ACT user in your company for a specific contact that is open in email broadcast? Yeah, absolutely. So if you're in the call list, you can double-click on a particular contact. Once you're on the contact record, you can schedule a call on behalf of anyone else, or we can even make that happen through the Smart Tasks. And can you use web forms in eBlast templates? You could link to a web form in the template. So yes, I think that's going to answer your question. Or I think yes is the answer to your question. You cannot actually have a web form necessarily embedded in an email template because they're not actually typing into the email that you sent them. But you could very easily have a link to your web form from an eBlast template that you did. So I know there's some more questions coming in right now. We're actually going to move on to the next portion of the webinar here. We'll circle back at the tail end to address some additional questions, though, for you. So just if you haven't had your question answered yet, hang tight, and hopefully we'll get to you towards the end of the webinar here. Also, quick reminder before I get into the next area. For those giveaways at the end, we've got those 3 products that we're giving away, Mapper, Topline Dash, and Dupe Remover. But also we got a couple of training classes that we'll be giving away too, and you must be on the call in order to win those. So please stay on, and we'll make sure that you're on the call once we go to give those away here. All right, so let's talk about Act 2012 for just a minute here. Act 2012 is soon going to be entering obsolescence. ACT has an N-2 policy. Basically what that means is N is the current ACT version. The -2 covers the previous 2 versions. Those products that are outside of N-2 are considered to be obsolete. When your product enters the obsolescence stage, ACT will no longer provide support, updates, or database services. AspenTech will do its best to support you, but the tools at our disposal will be limited. Your product will also not work with new versions of Windows or Office. It may not work with updated internet browsers if you're using web or mobile. In the last couple of years, Microsoft has released Windows 8, Server 2012, and Office 2013. And Windows 10 is on the horizon here, slated for mid-2015. So users on older versions of ACT won't have any support on those new platforms. Relative to upgrade eligibility, SwiftPage honors or ACT honors upgrade pricing for anyone on the current version and the previous 2. That goes back to that N-2. Users on older versions will buy at the new license price when they decide to purchase the latest release. The savings are significant when you decide to purchase before your product is obsolete. Take a look at the example pricing here based on the SRPs for ACT v17. Keep in mind that AspenTech will always secure better than SRP pricing for you, but there's only so much we can do. For an ACT Premium 2012 user who decides to move to ACT v17 before obsolescence, the SRP is $359.95. After obsolescence, it's $549.99. And even better, with the exclusive roadshow pricing that we're offering to everybody that's on this call today, that's only $242.97 if you act by October 31st. It's better than half what it would be if you were to allow your product to become obsolete. Let's talk about ACT Business Care for a moment. This is one of the best ways to ensure your software is current and that you never need to worry about obsolescence. This protects your investment in ACT. With Business Care, you get all the latest updates and new versions. And with the Silver and Gold plans, you get unlimited access to technical support. You also get valuable extras with discounts on e-marketing and other integrated products. So I mentioned that you get with v17 a free account, a free basic account for everybody of e-marketing. There's also additional discounts for the higher level, the team accounts, for anybody that's on a Business Care plan. And for any of our users who are on the call today who have Business Care right now, or who will have an active Business Care subscription when ACT v17 is released on October 23rd, you're automatically going to receive ACT v17. There's no need to buy an upgrade or anything like that. That's one of the key benefits of Business Care, is receiving that automatically when the new software comes out. So keep an eye out for an email from ACT directly regarding your new licenses. It'll be shortly after October 23rd. And please forward that on to us when you get it. We'll note that in our records, and then we can start to track down any serial numbers that our clients didn't get. All right. So let's take a look at the special Act v17 pricing that we have for you. So for our Act v16 users, your pricing is good until October 22nd at noon Eastern Time. The reason it's October 22nd is that the new product is slated for release on October 23rd. And instead of you buying upgrades, you can do a late add of business care. And you'll save 10%, which is an AspenTech client discount, on that late add of business care. This gets you all the benefits of business care for the next 12 months, along with Act v17. So if you take advantage of this, you'll actually save up to 70% off what it would take to upgrade to v17 with business care after October 22nd. So after October 22nd, you have to buy the upgrade license. And then if you want the benefits of business care, add business care on top of that. But while you're still on the current version and before v17 comes out, all you need to buy is the business care, which is about 1/3 of the price of what an upgrade normally costs. For our Act 2013 users and users of earlier versions or anyone new to Act, you have until October 31st. We have 30 days from our webinar today to offer special pricing to you. You'll save 25% off of licenses, of license-only purchases, so licenses by themselves, or 35% off of any licenses that are bundled with a business care plan. AspenTech will apply an additional 10% discount across the board for you. And for every 5 licenses you buy, you're going to get 1 free. Now, we only have a limited supply of those, so make sure you act quickly. And I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but I just wanted to reiterate that following today's webinar, you're going to hear from us. We'll get an email out to you tomorrow with an overview of the pricing. You'll actually see the individual products listed. You'll see the exact prices. You'll see exactly what you're going to be saving. You'll see the percentages, things like that. So we'll get that over to you. You don't have to jot down too many detailed notes about what you see here. We're also going to get you a feature comparison by version and a recording of today's webinar. And then in the next couple of weeks, we're going to plan to reach out to each of you one-on-one and talk more about the Act upgrade and see if it makes sense for your business. So please keep an eye out for those calls. We can chat then. Or if you'd like, reach out to us in the meantime. Feel free to do that too. All right. With that, I want to get into the drawings and giveaways here. So let me pull up our list of drawings and giveaways. We've got 5 different things that we're going to be giving away here. We're going to give away 1 attendee in AspenTech's public power user training class. This is great for new employees or anyone looking to get a refresher on their ACT skills. It's a class that we hold here on site at our office roughly every 4 to 6 weeks. And we're going to welcome whoever wins this free of charge in one of our upcoming classes. We have our 1 attendee in AspenTech's public customization and administration training class. This is an online class that we run every few months. We'll be scheduling one probably for later this fall. And if you win that, you're welcome to join us at no charge. We're going to be giving away 1 Top-Line Dash Manager license. You saw the powerful capabilities, powerful reporting capabilities of that earlier. We're going to be giving 1 of those away. We're going to be giving away 1 Duplicate Remover Expert to help you keep that database nice and neat and clean. And we're going to be giving away 1 copy of Mapper as well. And everybody loves the capabilities that you have there of the geocoding and building the routes and things like that. So what we used was a tool called random.org. This is a website that will randomize a list for you. And so what I'd like to do is have the top 5 people on this list, when I pull it up, raise their hand in the GoToWebinar. Actually, let me go back to the PowerPoint for just 1 second here. I'll show you that raise your hand. Get my little laser pointer here. This button right here in your GoToWebinar control panel is the raise your hand. If there's any hands up right now, Greg's going to put those down. I'm going to bring up the list that is randomized, and the top 5 people in that list are going to be the first people that we're going to give a chance to raise their hand in here and let us know that they're still on the webinar, and those are going to be our winners. If any of them are not here, we'll move down and go further down in our list until we find 5 people who are on the webinar to make sure that we're giving away these prizes to the people who are really interested in Act v17 here. So let me exit out of this, and let me bring up our randomized list from random.org. Okay, so our top 5 are Dan Mylan of Mylan Supply, Chris West of Stonebridge Capital Advisors, Ann Collins of Dietz Property Group, Andre LaRoche at Stage 3, and John Patry of UIS. Go ahead and raise your hands if we're on here. We'll give you about a minute, and we'll see who's on and what we need to do if we need to move on to any additional folks here. Keep in mind that following the giveaways here, we'll be doing a little bit more Q&A, so please stay on the line even if you're not one of our winners here, or maybe you're one of the next few people that are going to be up if some of our winners aren't on. Okay, don't see any winners yet, so go ahead and raise your hands if you're on. Okay, Dan, we see that you're on there. Okay. You are one of our winners then. You'll be, let's see here, you're the first person on the list, so you're entitled to the AspenTech Public Power User Training class. We'll make sure we get you some details on that later today, how to claim your prize. It does not appear that we have anybody else on the call right now. So let's move on. Amy Ordona, if you're on, you would be eligible for the Customization and Administration Training class. Go ahead and raise your hand. David Klozik from the Gonzalez Group, Top Line Dash Manager. Al Acitelli, won Egan Consulting Dupe Remover, and Ross Simpson from PRP Industries, Designer One Mapper. And go ahead and raise your hands, guys, if you're on, and we'll make sure you we notice that and get you your appropriate prize. Okay, Amy and David, looks like you guys are on, so you guys will get those, and we'll make sure, again, we get some details later on today on those. So Amy, you are getting the Customization and Administration Training. David, you are getting the Top Line Dash Manager. And Al, Ross, if you guys are on, let us know. You guys are up for the Duplicate Remover and the Designer One Mapper. I'll give you about 10 seconds here. Oh, okay. And I apologize. It looks like we missed Chris West. She was actually on here. So, Chris, let me give you the duplicate remover license here. And for the Designer One Mapper, Darlene Gueno, are you on? Darlene Gueno. Yep, you are on. All right, so you get the mapper. Excellent. All right, well, that concludes our drawings and giveaways. Let me jump next into some additional Q&A here, and we'll try to answer whatever other questions anybody else has. All right, so I've got a question here. Can you snap a photo of a business card, have it automatically entered as a contact? No, unfortunately, not with ACT by itself. I know there are some products out there that will put those in your native contacts on a mobile device, and if those native contacts sync with something like ACT or I'm sorry, Outlook or Google, and you're synchronizing that with ACT, then they'll end up in there. But there's nothing that allows you to snap a photo and have it just directly go into ACT without sort of having an intermediary there. There's so much functionality in the web-based version. Is it necessary to have the software installed on each computer in the office? No, it's not actually necessary. It really depends on the functionality that your users need, but more and more users seem to be going to the web-based product. What is KPI? KPI is key performance indicators. Sorry, I should have pointed that out earlier. Key performance indicators typically are just the numbers themselves. You look at a number, you'll see it, you can quickly analyze that, and so those are your key performance indicators, or KPI chart. Is there any way to prevent a user from deleting a contact or history or notes? Absolutely. Depending on the security level of the user, they may or may not have the ability to delete records. Or depending on the security level, you may have the ability to prevent them from deleting anything in there. That's an optional feature in the premium version for any standard users. You can also turn off editing of notes and histories, which would also prevent somebody from deleting those. Although if they can't delete in general, they can't delete notes and histories. Is there any way to integrate ACT v17 with EchoSign, such as when a document is sent for signature, an activity is automatically created? When a document is signed, it could then move the activity to history and attach the signed document. I'm not aware of any way to currently do that, but that's not to say it can't be done. It just may mean that there's not a pre-built solution out there. If it's important, we can certainly look at building a custom solution for something like that. So if that was your question, maybe when we reach out to you and talk about v17 a little bit more, let's talk more specifically about that and see whether it's something we should be exploring a little bit further. Can groups or subgroups be combined into a single lookup? No, you cannot create lookups based on multiple groups. However, you can create lookups based on multiple fields in an ACT database. So we often find that users will create groups because they're very simple and easy to create. You don't have to have administrative level knowledge or anything like that to do it. So an end user typically will create a lot of groups to segment their contacts. As you encounter things like this, you can see that why it might be helpful to actually have fields for those groups. So like if I had a group for holiday cards, well, if I had a field for holiday cards, I could combine that with something else. Maybe combine that field of those people who have holiday card checked with those people who have email addresses, and then I'm going to send an email blast to them this year instead of actually mailing out a physical card. You can combine any number of fields and queries with fields together, whereas you cannot do that with groups. So I would encourage trying to build those fields into your database and utilize that over the groups that you might have today. You can still have groups. They'll just be driven off of the fields rather than you manually adding contacts and removing contacts in them. Top line dash looks like the old Microsoft Access. Similar. You know, I haven't done an awful lot in Access, so I'm not a great person to say. I didn't see a social updates tab on your demo DB. Is it still in 2017? Yes, it is. It might just be hidden on that particular layout. Yeah, but it's definitely still there. When I receive an email from a new contact through Outlook, will it automatically create a record in ACT? No, it won't, but there is a toolbar icon in Outlook that you can simply click to create a new contact there. So it doesn't happen automatically because, you know, as I'm sure you can imagine, you get a lot of emails, maybe unsolicited emails from people. We don't necessarily want those all going into ACT, but there is an easy way through a toolbar icon in Outlook to create an ACT contact from an email. If you modified ACT fields and user field, what happens with the new look of v17? The icons and the navigation items, those are all still going to be the same in v17. If you've customized your layout is going to take precedence over any of the new demo layouts or anything like that. With the history list, can you disable certain users from seeing other users' history? You can limit which contacts a user sees. And if they don't have access to the contact, then they don't have access to the history. But if they have access to the contact, then they're going to be able to see that history. So even without the history list, though, in an older version of software today, they could go into each of those contacts that they have access to and review the history. So if they have access to it already, they're going to continue to have access to it. If they don't have access to it now, they won't have access to it moving forward. And obviously, if you want help getting limited access set up or anything like that, let us know. We can certainly coach you on that. Does ACT work with RingCentral? I'm not aware of any current integrations that are out there, kind of along the lines of EchoSign. I'm not saying it's not possible. In fact, it probably is possible to integrate with RingCentral, but I'm not aware of a pre-built integration at this time. There's some clarification on a question here. So relative to seeing other users' calendars, can you see other users' calendars on a mobile device? No, you currently cannot filter for another user on ACT Mobile. Someone had a question on the pricing. We did talk about the pricing on that slide there, and we'll be sending out a price sheet to everybody with more detailed information on that by tomorrow. And so if you still have questions, certainly feel free to bring those to us or wait for us to reach out to you. We'll be doing that with everybody, and we can talk more about that. Somebody else wanted some clarification on the two different methods of contacting people via email, either through ACT or through Outlook, and the pros of using one versus the other. When you're using ACT e-marketing, you can do much larger email blasts. You're going to have more professional-looking graphical email messages, whereas when you use Outlook, you're probably only going to want to send about 20 or 30 emails at a time. It's going to look more like a traditional email message, those types of things. The other advantage to something like ACT e-marketing is the scores that you get, the fact that you know who's opened your email, who's clicked on certain links, things like that. Even if you wanted to send one that just looked like a traditional email, you may decide to do it in that fashion because you want to have the scoring available to you. Will we get a copy of this information after the webinar? Yeah, absolutely. We'll send out a webinar recording along with the pricing information, version comparison sheet. All of that will come out after the webinar here for you. When installing the new version, you have to decide during the install process whether you are going to use the web version or client version. You have to make a determination on the server during the install of what product you're going to install there. If you want web to be available, you have to install the web-based product on the server. But as far as end users, if somebody's going to be using web, you don't really install anything on them. If they're going to be using the ACT client, you install the client software. Is there a way to choose individual security options instead of just appointing security levels such as manager, et cetera? For example, I do not want employees to be able to download client-less databases, but they need to have many of the other accesses of the security level. So there are ways of there are some customizable user permissions. It's not quite as granular as we might like it to be, and that's been high on the list of new features that we've been looking for, but unfortunately they're not there yet. You do have the ability to control whether standard users can delete, whether standard users can export or not, things like that. But at the manager and above level, those users are going to have access to those items, and you can't take those away from those users. Although what I'd encourage you to do, I don't know who asked that question, but talk to us about what functionality your managers need. Because a lot of times we've seen where clients will believe that all of their users need to be a manager, maybe to schedule on behalf of another user, when in reality there really is a way for them to do that, even as a standard user. Web versus on server, any disadvantage to being on web versus directly over the server. You know, obviously if you're connecting through the web client, you need an internet connection at all times to be able to do that, or a network connection to the server to be able to do that. They're starting to really close the gap between the two products, web and the regular client. So from a functionality standpoint, there's not a lot that's there. There still are a few administrative level functions like backups and restores or merging duplicates, that sort of thing, that aren't there yet in the web. But the gap between the functionality is getting smaller and smaller with every update. Can you migrate the layout from v16 to v17 since I've customized the screen for user fields? Absolutely. And can you use both server, client, and web? Absolutely. You could use the installed client with a remote database. You could use the installed client with a main database over a local area network connection. You could use the web version, and you could use the mobile version, all in the same environment. You could have a hybrid of all those things. In fact, even one single user is entitled to use all those different access points. There's no additional licensing for any of that. Your license covers all of that. Can you import contacts from a LinkedIn group with v17, or do I still need third-party software? You still need third-party software to do that, or to scrape the screen and bring those people in. In ActWeb, you can certainly view other users' calendars. There's no limitation there. Does eMarketing replace SwiftPage? Eventually it will. There are still a couple of things that are in SwiftPage that are not available in Act eMarketing, like surveys are not there yet, although with web forms we're kind of getting there, the lead forms. So it's not a direct replacement yet, but it very soon will be, and there will be a migration path from SwiftPage to eMarketing. It is just a couple minutes past 11:30 here, so I apologize if we're running over, but I did want to thank everybody who's been on the webinar. We can stay on for a few more minutes and continue to answer questions as they come in, but I did want to take a second just thank everybody for joining us today and let you know that if you have any questions or need anything else, feel free to reach out to us in the meantime. Or, like I said earlier, we'll be reaching out to you in the coming weeks ahead here as well as we get closer and closer to the end date of these promotional pricing periods. So, thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll stay on for just a couple more minutes here and see if any more questions start to come in. Looks like the questions have really slowed, so again, we appreciate your time, and we will take a few minutes to review any additional questions that might come in or that maybe that we didn't get to on the call today, and we'll address those offline after the fact. So again, thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch soon.